Welcome back to the Always Aggressive podcast. I'm Corey Palm. He's Tanner Lipset, and up there is
There you go.
Tony Ersland. See, I'm backwards too. Guys,
you couldn't mistake us. I'm way better looking than he is.
Moving on. It's been way too long, and I apologize that we missed the season preview before your first competitions of the year. But we're 2 weeks in, Coach. I imagine you've learned a whole lot about your squad in the last 14 days.
Yeah, we've really been tested. We've wrestled a very tough schedule, seen a lot of good people, which was intentional, and now we've got a chance to really kind of grow from it, if you will, right? So that's the whole point, is really get a good idea of where we're at as a team, and we've had some great successes, and I'm sure we'll talk about that today. And then we've seen some areas where we've fallen short and we need to kind of grow and improve, and that's all by design, knowing that, hey, we need to get to March and be better, right? We need to keep growing week by week and do our best wrestling in March, and you can't do that if you don't know where you need to be better.
Coach, let's start, at the Clarion Open. We took a lot of guys. We wrestled a boatload of matches.
About 100 matches on the day, I think we coached.
We were just shy of 100. I think it was like 97 or 98.
Yep.
And kudos to our managers. Hey, they, even with what was there, 8 mats going in 2 different gyms, 9 mats going in 2 different gyms, and they recorded all but 3 of those in Mat Boss. They managed to get to every single mat side for those. So I thought that was.
Hey, kudos to everybody on that trip, right? I mean, to our dietitian, Elaine, the managers, you, our coaches. I mean, good Lord. Hey, kudos to that bus driver who got us home a little after 3:30 in the morning, coming straight back 7 hours. So it was a tough trip. But again, it was one that we needed. Got a lot of matches in, got to see a lot of things in a lot of situations.
For sure. Some, like you said, a lot of good things, some bad mixed in there. I think it was a lot of fun to see the guys finally put their hands on somebody else and get out of the room.
Yeah, I think everybody's excited just to have a different opponent in front of them. You know what I mean? It's just to toe the line and showcase what your hard work has been. I just think that's what every good competitor looks for, that opportunity to go out and just show what they've been working so hard on behind closed doors, and people get a chance to see what that hard work looks like.
In addition to that, we got to see a first glance at some of these freshmen, and they didn't disappoint. Some pretty good opening showings for rookies like Grayson Clark and Joey Blaze specifically.
Yeah, those guys wrestle hard. Here's the thing, as freshmen, they're going to refine and polish their skills, right? Their positioning, their attacks, their hand fighting, all of those things that go into quality wrestling. But what I love about those guys, again, is they wrestle from all positions. They're great competitors. They don't concede, positions. They're just in there trying to find a way to win the next point. And that's helped them get off to a great start. I mean, if you just look from a record standpoint, those guys, heck, I don't know if Grayson's leading the team in wins right now. I mean, I think he might have 9 wins.
He's up
right?
there.
But again, I've just been impressed with how hard they compete. Yes, they need some refining and some of their skill sets need work on. That's to be expected. But they're not taking a back seat to people. And they're going out and they're slugging it out and competing hard. So, really proud of how those guys have started the year off.
2 other guys love to tip the cap to. Matt Ramos and Stoney Buell both taking 3rd place at their weights. Stoney's a guy who has been in and out of the lineup at 165 for us last year, and as a freshman, and took some, made some big strides in the off season, and we definitely got to see a lot of that at Clarion.
Yeah, no doubt. Stoney's growth and development is evident. I'm sure we'll talk more about him later when we start talking about the following weekend or last weekend at Journeyman. But again, you can see that he's made adjustments in his attacks and his hand fighting and those things. So love to see his growth, and he's just looking much more confident in what he's trying to do and accomplish out there. So that's really big. Matt, Matt's Matt, man. He's just going out and he's throwing it all out there and competing hard. Always just a very optimistic, positive kid. And I know as you look, like he's got a loss on him here, you know what I mean? And maybe some people are like, geez, you're number one and you got a loss this early in the year. But just knowing how he grows from those things and how he stays very positive, I know this will make him better. Matt's going to see this as a blessing. And like, hey, this just shows me where I got to be better. So that, again, when he gets to March and we know that he loves, that setting and that spotlight, he's going to be better for it. So again, even though, some people may look at that like, oh, geez, that's disappointing. He caught a loss. Hey, he's going out, he's wrestling. He's going to be better for it. He's a kid who gets better as he wrestles. He's tough to beat twice. I'd like, see anybody try to beat him twice. He makes adjustments and he knows he can win. So again, proud of him and that he's going out and laying on the line and getting after people.
Shane, our good friend Shane Sparks, gave him a really nice note. He went back, after falling in the semifinals, he stepped back out there for the third place match. He didn't tuck tail and be done for the day, and went out and pinned a kid in, what was it, 17 seconds or so?
Yeah.
So, he answered the bell.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, that's hard, right? I mean, when you're number one and you're expected to win and then you're upset, it's easy to keep your head down and not go out and be in the moment, be in the moment the way you're supposed to be. And to his credit, he moved past it quickly, at that time, right? He knows I can't pout about this. I can't beat myself up right now. I got to get ready and go wrestle. And he did. He took care of his business and in decisive fashion. And then, we get back home and he's let's start working. Let's figure it out. So again, just proud of him that when you have that kind of adversity or those things happen, when your expectations are so high, man, it's really easy to get your head down and pout on it, and not be ready again and almost take another loss, right? Because you weren't ready. He was ready to go. And again, that's what you want to see. You want to see that kind of resilience in your kids. It's going to take resilience to get through this season. When you got a Big Ten season coming in 3 days and a national championship, it's going to take resilience, and he's showing it. And that's what you want out of your kids.
It's almost become expected, or certainly accepted, this day in this sport, that most guys would not have been blamed at all for just medicaling out of the third place match. We saw plenty of it that day. Plenty of no decisions. We're done. We've got enough matches. We don't need to go out and prove anything. And just for Matt to go the other way. I know that's what Shane was saying. Is great to see Matt go the other way. And I know Shane caught some strays on social media for his comment, but it was very praiseworthy about Ramos, and that was it.
And my point too here is you look at so many kids. And especially at the high school level, I'll say, and there's a lot of it goes on college too. So I don't want to say just high school, but, guys get a ranking and then they go hide, right? The goal is more to protect the ranking, than to risk it. And you see a lot of people who don't want to risk it anymore, both at high school and college. And I don't think that's the right approach. You got to be that fearless competitor. And you got to be put in a lot of situations and then respond. And that's what great competitors do, is they respond. So again, in this day and age where a lot of people will hide occasionally or not risk it very much, I like to see our kids bounce. You get upset, you took a loss, hey, let's bounce. Let's figure it out, move on, and let's be better. And I strongly believe that about Matt or any guy. Any guy that we coach, it's, hey, the most important thing you're going to do, I was always told, is the next thing you're going to do. So when one moment's gone, you got to look to the next, because you can't hang in, what just happened. You can't do anything to fix that. Let's look at the next moment. And let's make sure we're ready for that one. And that's, what we preach. And that's what Matt did. So kudos to him as we move forward and get better.
I was going to save this for a little later in the show, but I feel like we're kind of already on the topic. So I'll pull it out here. There were 2 articles written by Intermat this weekend. One was Kevin Claunch and Ryan Holmes regarding the Big Ten, and the other one was a review of they called it the Best of Bethlehem, where they wrote about kind of all the takeaways from the two events that we went to, the Journeyman put on out in Pennsylvania. And it was nice to see our kind of philosophies and, you know, some of the stuff that you just said about putting your foot on the line, recognized by the media and recognized by some people out there. And they talked about how, you know, just to read a small snippet of it, said you're supposed to challenge your wrestlers and put them in tough matches. That's what you're supposed to do when you're building something. And Purdue did that this weekend when they traveled to Journeyman Wranglemania and the Journeyman Collegiate Classic. And, you know, I think that as we build this program and as we continue to make progress, I think it's nice to see people, you know, in the media recognizing kind of what we're doing here, Tony.
Yeah. And I obviously agree with that statement. I mean, in terms of like, you need to challenge your kids. And again, you need to be in tough situations. You need to see good people. And I'm sure we'll talk about, you know, last weekend again with NC State, but that's what the point of that duel was, is we knew we were going to have a very good, solid team that was going to test us. And again, where are we at here? You know, this early in the season with some young guys, where has progress been made and where do we still need to get better? And that's the whole point of that. And I guess another thing that I'll share is, you know, you don't want to be event driven. You know, I've talked with my guys there, and listen, we're all highly competitive and we want to win. So I kind of almost put that off to the side. Like, of course we want to win, you know, you want to train hard, but we just believe more in, hey, if you want to be process oriented and you're going to see how good you can be, then you can't go hide from tough events. Or when an event goes against you, you know, you lose a match at a tournament or you lose a duel. Does that mean you're bad or you're worse? Or, you know what, you know, like, you just can't get hung on the event. It's got to be evaluated from the process standpoint. And again, where were we good? Where were we bad? Where do we need to improve? And so now you're more process driven. And again, that gets you to March in a better place than win good, lose bad. You know what I mean? And that's my point, is you can't be event driven. And if you're not going to be event driven, then why are we not going to test our kids in places? You know, and there is a thing, I'll admit, there still needs to be a balance. It can't be hard all the time. There has to be an ebb and a flow to things. I acknowledge that. I don't want to overstate it like, no, you just wrestle hard all the time and that's it. There's an ebb and a flow to this. But, man, hey, I strongly believe in testing your kids, see where they're at, move forward, be better.
You know, the other part of that was, you know, when you talked about Maddie already, but they tipped the cap to Ramos and the fact that, you know, he's out there putting it on the line when, you know, as you said, other kids are not necessarily protecting rankings, but like, you know, Corey, what did you say the stat was? How many of the top?
Yeah, 3 kids in the top 8, just at 125. 3 kids, 3 wrestlers at the top 8 haven't wrestled a match yet.
Yeah,
2 weeks into the season.
We're 2 weeks in. There have been plenty of tournaments. There have been plenty of duels. There have been plenty of opportunities. I guarantee you, those 3 guys, teams are doing something, but they aren't. Not to call anybody out, but there's some people who are getting off to a start, and some people who are just have 8 matches under their belt.
Yeah. And if you look at us too, as I just talked about scheduling, right? I mean, we're at home for just 2 duels this weekend, and then we've got a weekend off. You know, then we've got a chance to just train. You know, that's that opportunity where 3 weekends, seeing a variety of competition. Then, hey, home for Thanksgiving, a chance to get a really good training block and make some significant progress in certain areas. And then you go out in Vegas, right? And then you have finals and you get another couple weeks. You know, so December winds up being lighter. So that's why we decided what we did is let's get 3 good weekends a row, get a chance to evaluate, train. You know, Vegas will be a good test again, and then another opportunity to tweak and train again before we move into the back half of the year, getting to January. So again, there's an ebb and a flow to it, and you just got to make sure you get the most out of each competition or training segment that you can.
Let's continue into last weekend. Like we said, we went out to the Lehigh Valley and Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where we were at a couple different high schools. We were at Liberty High School and Freedom High School, both great hosts for the event. And, we'll start with the duels. We faced Army and NC State on Saturday and had some mixed results, but overall some stuff to feel pretty good about.
Yeah, a nice dual win from over Army, a solid team who's going to compete hard. They're not going to back down. They're going to stay in there and fight you. Tooth and nail. And so you knew that going in, and some very solid performances, and then some upsets too, right? I mean, you see, obviously Matt took care of his business and got a major decision, but Dustin Norris is out there for his first match of the year and is up 9-2 and gets headlocked and pinned. I mean, that's a 6-point swing minimum in terms of the duel. So that really made things tighter than it needed to be. And that's a situation where Norm did a great job early in the match, but then just kind of almost got defensive and started to protect the win, right? When we talk about, hey, he's not being event driven, he didn't stay in the moment, like just keep executing what got you there with your 9 points. And instead, it's more like trying to hold on and hold this kid off. He's got nothing to lose, so he's throwing headlocks out there, right? He's going for it, and Norm got caught in it because he didn't wrestle through it. So that was a big one. Again, that was a 9-point swing, and I think Norm's going to learn and grow from it. He's been doing great. I like where Norris has been in his training and how he made weight. So, I think he'll be fine, but he's got to learn how to close matches out, with controlling ties and the pace and things like that, where he didn't do a good job. Again, we talked about our freshman with Grayson doing a nice job and just wrestling hard. A little bit ugly match, but man, he wrestles hard. He wrestles through. Even when he makes mistakes, he makes up for it with effort and wrestling through. So good job with him. 49 was another tough start where early in the match, Polanco, when he was in the process of just giving up a takedown, cast his hips in the air and got put on his back. So he's down right away for 7, and now you're trying to dig out of a hole. So that was that, I think, hopefully a lesson learned with Marcos, being more solid in his positioning. Not because, with a 3-point takedown and the 4-point near fall, 7 points is hard to dig out of. And so that was really unfortunate that he put himself in a 7-point, deficit right away and then had to try to dig out of it and probably wrestled the kid even the rest of the way, honestly, right? Yeah. He wrestled him even. So just the fact that he gave up the big hold early really hurt him. Joey Blaze, again, showing a lot of grit and a lot of fight, just being a pain in the butt that he is defensively. And then he wrestles hard with pace, got a nice takedown late to solidify the win. Stony Buell.
Ranked opponent. I said the Army kid was a ranked opponent. Guy was ranked, somewhere between 25 and 30 by both Flo and Intermat. So, a nice feather in the cap for Joey early in the year.
Yeah, no doubt. So good solid win over a very solid kid. And same for Stony Buell. Stony found a way to win a very tough match against a ranked opponent and put himself in the rankings this week because of it. And he is off to a good start. I think, Stony might only have 1 loss on the year. He might be around 6-1, I believe. So,
give or take.
Yeah, give or take. But off to a very solid start where, again, you can see the development that he's made. 74 has great potential, and he found a way to get it done in the match, but sloppy, I would say. It's just, again, when we talk about closing matches, kind of like Norris, that's what's sticking in my head with a couple of these guys is how we close matches. He got the win, but again, I'm talking about him, and people are like, well, geez, he won, but again, I'm not event driven on this. It's like, how did you look? How did you perform at the end? And Brody, he's got to learn to be a little more solid in how he closes things out. And so even though he won, just a little sloppy, and that's something we're going to be working on with Brody, is how to close, because he's got tremendous potential to score, tremendous ability. We just got to be a little more solid and tough in how we close out matches position. And then, when you talk about closing, James Rowley did a great job in terms of coming out and scoring early and putting himself in the win. But he had another quality ranked opponent and he ended up giving up a score very late. That was the difference. I think we were up by 2. Does that sound right, Tanner? And got scored on. I mean, it might have been as the buzzer.
Yeah.
Clicked over to
Oh, it
0,
was really close.
1 or 2 to give up and lose by 1. Again, to a ranked opponent, somebody who was in the teens.
Yeah,
I think
I think it was like 16 or 18, somewhere around there.
Might have been 15. So that would have been a quality win. And again, that's just executing at the end, staying, not looking at the clock, not, thinking about how can I just hang on for a win, man. It's what does this situation require? How do I need to execute, and just living in that moment. And that's where, again, I'll kind of put like maybe Brody and James, same boat, where how we want to close on that match and just be process driven. Don't be event driven. Don't try to figure out how you can just hang on to win. Like, how do I got to execute right now? What does this situation require? And just be solely in the moment. So again, those two guys, tons of ability, really excited for what they bring to the table. They just, stay in the moment. Don't look ahead. You know what I mean? It can hurt you. And that it definitely did James there, where he should have had a 1 and we just lost focus for a minute. But I will say this, I like how they've come back and are working hard. Those last second losses sometimes are tough, but James has come back and he's working his tail off, being focused on making gains. So that was good. Ben Venadia, very dominant performance, huh?
Ben Venadia sealed the duel with a nice tech fall.
Yeah, tech fall, really dominant. Loved where Ben was at on his attacks and how he made his finishes easier. He was short, on his compact, on his finishes, didn't get extended. Just he made it look easy, right? Ran the score up and again sealed the dual win for us. So really excited that Ben had such a dominant performance. And then at heavy, that was another one where we gave up near fall points earlier in the match and put ourselves in a hole. At heavyweight, when you give a guy 3 or 4 points, that's a tough hole to come out of. And that was again a position that Tristan made a mistake in and gave up the lead and couldn't make up. So close loss there. But again, that you learn from these moments, and it was still nice to get the dual win despite, not wrestling in certain situations the way we want to or the way we will in the future.
Second duel of the day against, now number 2 NC State. Results were not what we hoped they would be.
No.
But we did have a pretty awesome moment there in the middle of the duel.
Yeah, do you want to start with the good? Absolutely. Joey Blaze, again, wrestling hard and wrestling through every position. Against a very strong opponent. Ed Scott, returning All-American. I think, was he ranked 5?
Yes, sir.
Was that where it was? It might have been. So a quality opponent, and Joey again, man, he wrestled out of a lot of stuff. He did a great job. He's getting much better in his hand fight, and we always knew he could scramble and wrestle from a lot of places, but his hand fighting is getting much better. And so he won a couple scrambles, and then at the end, I think Ed was pretty fatigued, and Joey could sense it. And really early into OT picked it up with the hand fight and found a way to hit a little kind of slide by off the elbow and take him down. So just proud of that kid. But you know who he is, right? Like in the room every day. It's not a surprise. It is not a surprise because you see it from Joey every day. That's just who he is. And he's going to keep getting better, right? And this is early. Like he's still a baby trying to figure some things out, I guess. So I'm really excited for where he's going. Absolutely.
Didn't have Stony Buell in the second duel of the day. Had some close ones at 65 and 74 that didn't go our way. But overall, I think, you try to take some positive away from a match like that, from a duel like that. And I think the guys learned some good lessons.
Yeah, I think so. Again, like it's taking the right thing from it. And that's always, again, you don't want to be event driven. So again, it's not just say, hey, we lost, this sucks. You know what I mean? It's figuring out, man, where did we lose and why, and how can we be better? And that's what it has to be. And hats off to Coach Poplizio and NC State. They're a nice team. They're a very good team at number 2. And you can see what they are about. Like, what they are about as a team. And I appreciate that. And I think that highlights for us, like, hey, we want to keep establishing our identity, who we're going to be and how we're going to do things. And I just didn't think we did a good enough job of us enforcing what we want to do on them. And that should be our takeaways, from each position. Here's our identity. Here's how we want to execute. And here's how we want to compete in each and every situation. And that highlighted it for us. We were short, even in crucial situations when, you feel differently maybe as a coach if we were 1 point short, not even in riding time at 65. Coop Nori did a nice job at least competing right there to win. Brody Bowman lost, in the very last second. Obviously, Matt was right there to win too. So if you can get 3 more matches, that kind of changes the team score a little bit, and you feel differently. But we didn't. We lost those crucial situations, and that highlights, hey, against good people, we've got to stay focused on how we need to execute. We got to have blinders on what we need to do. And we didn't. And so that, again, there's something to be learned from that.
Brought about half the guys back the next day to wrestle in the Journeyman Collegiate Classic. A very, how do I want to put this, non-conventional setup for a tournament. They divided up weight classes into a variety of 6-man brackets, where then you would do a 3-man round robin and then cross bracket.
At the end,
I'm confused just talking about it.
Most of it was 3-man pools, right?
Yes.
Wrestle round robin in your pool, wrestle 2 matches, and then the other 3-man pool next to you, you would just cross back at 1-1, 2-2, 3-3. You know what I mean? If they couldn't come up with a 3-man pool, like Tristan Ruhlman,
heavyweight,
he was in a 4-man bracket, and it's just a round robin, straight round robin, no cross bracket at the end. But you're right. It's a different kind of competition than we see, all year. I think coaches like it early in the year because it's just not a team scored event. You know what I mean? It's just like a mini tournament where there's not as many matches. Because if we go back and we talk about any negative about Clarion, man, those brackets got so big. If you look, right, like
they were huge.
We had a number of guys that were 5-1 and didn't even get like to a placing match, right? That's just how many guys and how big the brackets were. And that's not always what you want, especially early in the year when you're trying to get matches. So a lot of coaches like this format because, hey, you're going to get 3 matches on the day and, see different people. It's not team scored or anything like that. It's purely matches that will help you grow and develop and play a part late in the year.
Absolutely. Speaking of our guys that did well, Grayson Clark won his bracket, came up with a couple of wins, and then in the first place match in his bracket at 141, took out a young man from Army in the finals to come away with his bracket title. Yep.
Yeah. Good. A lot of good wrestling. And again, I think you highlighted again, and I almost say this just for everybody else, maybe even you're talking to your team sometimes is, hey, you look at the freshman, man wrestles hard. Again, he's learning position and he's learning things as he's in more and more situations, but again, he just wrestling hard, and that should be noted because he's going to keep getting better. And I say that just more for everybody, I like what he's doing and I like the competitor that he is. So I'll keep shouting that to the rooftop.
You talk about him wrestling hard, and there was a good example of that in his placement match in that tournament, because he ended up like picking up the bulk of his points on stalling points. Just kept coming at the kid, kept coming at the kid, and forcing the official to call stalling repeatedly.
He did. He gave up that little slick overtie shuck, I think it was, early in the match. Because he was pushing too much, letting his arm get straight. But then he adjusted and he went to his hooks, his underhooks, and he was getting a lot of pressure into that guy, forcing him to engage him. And then if he didn't engage him and he was out of bounds, backing out, like you said, the referee had no chance here but to call the stalling. I think we had him called. Was it at least 3? It was a warning,
4.
No, 4. It was 4, right?
Yeah.
Warning, a 1, and a 2.
Yep.
And again, that's just finding a way. Like you may not have the offense the way you want to in that situation. We were, looking for leg attacks and different things and never quite got there the way we wanted to. But he found a way at end by putting a lot of pressure on his opponent to make it go his way. And that's what you want. You want guys who will make it go their way.
Absolutely. Hey Corey, you get a chance to watch us in person this weekend.
I sure do, and I'm happy to announce that for the first time in a couple of years, I'll be on the call Sunday. So really looking forward to seeing the guys, seeing some of the newcomers that I haven't had a chance to see in person yet. It's Tony, as you're going through the results from the weekend, I just had to double check, just going back through the names. Man, you got two upperclassmen that wrestled in those duels, and that's the Polanco and Ramos, and it's just a bunch of freshmen and sophomores still. To be able to challenge them, to be able to push them, to be able to see how they handle, weigh-ins and multiple competitions and 6 or 8 matches over the course of 2 days. I mean, it's there's so much you're learning about this team right now, right?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We're learning a lot, and they are a good group. Like I enjoy this group. So even though you're some days or matches you're pulling your hair out, right? I mean, there's disappointment when you lose, but then you have some tremendous wins too. But you're learning a lot about these guys. And it's why I'm excited about this group and what this future is, because we don't graduate a guy for 2 years.
Right.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, as long as they stay dialed in here and they have, they're going to be really tough. Everybody thinks about, what success or progress looks like. It's a straight line. I've always said this. I probably said this on here a bunch of times. It's not a straight line to the top.
I've never heard you say this before. This is weird.
Yeah, it's weird. You climb the mountain, you get knocked down. You climb the mountain, you get, it's that zigzag. And as long as you stay with it and keep climbing, man, there's going to be a day you're going to punch through, and then that day's coming for a lot of guys right now. And I know there'll be more guys down the road where they'll have punched through and get where they want to be. So it's exciting for this group. You just want them to keep showing up and working hard, and they'll get to be where they want.
You guys host the Boilermaker Duels this Sunday. It's UIndy at noon, and then Northern Illinois at 2:00. Both those matches, as alluded to already, will be on Big Ten Plus. If you can make it out to Holloway Gym, I would encourage everyone to make it out to Holloway Gym, so you don't have to listen to me for 2 hours. But UIndy and Northern Illinois, they've become sort of regulars for November, December trips to campus. So what do you like about seeing those two opponents?
Yeah, it's an opportunity where we're not traveling. We get matches in, you know what I mean? Like, again, and they've been really good, as you said, like they've been around, especially Northern Illinois. I know UIndy was here early on and haven't been back for a few years, and they're back again with us. And so it's great. I appreciate Coach Worthen bringing his group in. But Ludwig and NIU, I think they've been to every quad that we've had, or every try. It's a try this year, but every quad or multiple duel that we've had. And I really appreciate that. They're another team that wants to show up and just compete. And so, again, it's another opportunity for us to kind of get multiple matches in and see where we're at, what the improvements are. And I would expect to see improvements this weekend from last weekend. We had a good practice this morning, and you're already seeing some changes in terms of how we're executing in position. So that's all we're trying to do, is keep these guys wrestling multiple matches and develop momentum too now, right? I mean, you want to keep developing momentum as you move forward. Last weekend, we saw some good competition. And this weekend is like, hey, where are we now? How did we grow and develop this week from last week?
In addition to this weekend, we got a little tease of the fact that Matt Ramos will be headed to State College, Pennsylvania early next week for the NWCA All-Star Classic. First Boilermaker to get invited in quite some time. We'll have to check with our man, William Stule, to get an official on that. But I think, it's been a hot second since a Boilermaker's been at that event. So it'll be really cool to see Matt put it on the line out at Penn State.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. Like I said, we talked about Matt, man. He's wrestling everybody, and I love it. He's going to have a great opportunity come March to have seen everybody and know what they offer. And I think it's only going to help him, especially knowing his attitude. I mean, he is such an optimistic, positive kid. A lot of people have heard how he's talked about, wrestling Spencer twice and what that was for him. I just see it kind of this being a very positive thing for him as well. So again, when we get down the road, he knows exactly what needs to be done and how to do it.
Corey, any thoughts on the fact that, like I said, it's been cool to see a Boilermaker so highly ranked in the preseason and in the early season, and even though he's taken some losses and he's put it on the line against these guys, getting to see him highlighted in such a high level event, great for him and great for the program.
Yeah, definitely great for the program. It's been great for him, I'm sure, but it's probably been a lot for such a kind of quietly reserved guy. You really need to get to know Matt He's not a super outwardly emotive dude until you're inside with him. So seeing him, and that's going to be an adjustment for anybody getting that level of spotlight on you over the course of months. I mean, he was doing media all summer.
Yeah.
He was still competing all summer.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's a great point though, Corey. I really do. Cause I think, Matt was probably going to be happy, honestly, just to settle in this routine of competing and doing his thing. Yep. Because, as you get a lot of requests and opportunities to talk to people and do fun things, no doubt, right? But at some point, hey, we just need to make sure that we're focused on what's important, for him in this year. And so I think he is probably excited to just kind of settle into the season and do his thing.
And I don't want to speak out of school here. If you guys think I'm wrong, please tell me. But him taking a loss, him going out and maybe making a small tactical mistake that led to points for the other guy, like that's not a surprise. Matt wasn't, I don't think, the kind of guy his goal this year wasn't go undefeated. His goal was to be the one with his hand raised, on the big stage in Kansas City. If you're 30-0 when you get there, if you're 27-3 when you get there, it doesn't really matter. The goal is the goal, and however you get there is how you get there.
No, the goal is to perform. For me, like the goal is to perform at your very best, and that's what we're trying to do. And yes, man, everybody wants to win all of them. I want to win all of them. And not a single one of us. I know Matt does too. But where I think this can be valuable is now you're not trying to protect something. Sometimes you almost think like a Spencer Lee. You're trying to go into a match, and you're just trying not to lose. Like I want to get my fourth, and then are you protecting something you don't have yet? Does that make you conservative? Are you free enough to still take the risks that you need to take? And that's the thing. If Matt will learn and grow from it, okay, hey, we don't got to worry about the undefeated season now. We're not protecting that. We still have the big goals in front of us. So again, let's not be event driven. Let's just be process driven. And hopefully if that frees him up to be about the process and what he has to do every day to get there in March, then okay, great. Then great.
He's a lot of things, but a conservative wrestler is not his strength.
Not him. No.
Do not do that.
Not him. Hell, we tell him to stay dangerous all the time. That's what we're trying to get him to do, is just stay dangerous.
That's where he lives.
Corey, I think that's about all we got this week, man.
Yeah, I think we're good. Just a reminder, get out to Holloway Gym for that duel at noon against UIndy and 2 o'clock against Northern Illinois. 2 o'clock's an approximate start, of course. We will roll from UIndy straight in, so the folks aren't sitting around for a while, but excited to get those mats rolled out and see the fur fly, as it were.
Yeah, it's been too long since we've been home. We were road warriors the last 2 weeks, those long, tough road trips. So it is going to be a lot of fun to be in Holloway, and I'm sure our guys, their energy and their effort will reflect that.
Can't wait to see it. All right. Well, we'll leave it there. We'll catch back up with you next week. We may alter our schedule with the holiday a little bit, but always aggressive coming at you weekly for the duration of the season. Fellas, be safe out there, and can't wait to see you Sunday.